Carolina and the creator of Seniorology, which is a resource for senior portrait photographers. And on today's episode, we are going to talk about posing for seniors. In every senior photo shoot that you do, you need a variety of standing poses, sitting poses, laying down poses, maybe even movement poses. But today we're going to concentrate on standing poses. If you guys want to see a video of movement poses and sitting poses, make sure to check out the other videos on this channel. Before we get into the actual poses, I'm going to go through some tips for you. Tip number one is to practice the pose yourself. I think it is so important for us as senior photographers to make sure that we can do the pose before we try to get our seniors to do the pose. So practice in front of a mirror, make sure you're checking out what it looks like in the mirror, make sure you feel comfortable and confident doing the pose so therefore you can show your seniors and they will feel comfortable and confident doing it too. Okay, tip number two is to create curves. No one looks great standing straight on with their hands and arms by their side. It's not flattering for anyone. So make sure that you are creating curves and even triangles with the way you're posing your seniors. So you want to pop a hip, you want to put a hand on the waist to create a triangle. You want to make them tilt their head one way or the other. You create curves and triangles so that your poses have visual interest and your seniors look the best that they can look. Okay, so tip number three is to use your environment. So when you're location scouting, make sure you're looking for things in the environment that you can use to help with posing. Things like a wall that they can lean on, or maybe a railing that they can place their hands on, or even a windowsill that they can prop an elbow up in will help give you a variety to your poses. So tip number four is don't forget the hands. A lot of times we don't know what to do with our hands, so make sure you're telling your seniors where to place them, how to place them, so that they don't feel uncomfortable and not know what to do. So whether that's putting their hands on their hips, maybe holding an elbow, whatever they're doing, make sure you're directing them as to where to put their hands. Okay, so tip number five is to think about the lens you're using because it can make a difference. So the same exact pose can look completely different whether you're using a 35mm versus an 85mm. They're going to have different background elements, such as the 85 will have compression, where the 35 will have more of the background in focus. So think about your lens choice when you're thinking about poses. Tip number six is to change your angle. Again, the same exact pose can look completely different depending on where you are as the photographer. So make sure you're walking around your subject. Make sure you're getting down low. You're shooting from above. You are shooting wide angle versus close up, vertical versus horizontal. Just change your direction before you change their pose. Okay, and tip number seven is to make sure your seniors are changing their expression. So you want to get big smiles, you want to get soft smiles, you want to show the teeth and not show the teeth. Make sure you do a couple of serious faces, make them laugh, even ask them to flirt with the camera or think of their boyfriend so that the pose can look different because of the expression. Okay, so let's get into the poses. I'm going to show you pose number one, which is pretty traditional, but one I do on every shoot. So let me back up. Okay, so I turn my senior a little to the side, make sure they pop this knee, which creates a triangle. Make sure they place their hand on the smallest part of their waist, which is usually a little bit higher than they think, right about here. And then I have them tilt at the waist just a hair and kind of look right over the shoulder at the camera. Number two, I'm gonna back up a little bit, but you have them place their weight on one leg, popping that hip a little bit, and then they're gonna take this hand and gently hold the elbow right here and tilt their head. Number three is looking over the shoulder. So I'm gonna back up. they turn away and look over the shoulder at you. This pose, I like to say, is a little bit more of a model pose, so make sure that you've gotten your senior a little bit more comfortable before you force them into this pose. But it is going to create triangles with your arms. You place the hands on the head gently. They can look away, they can look right at you, but you're creating triangles with your arms. Okay, so the next pose I call hug yourself. I have them turn slightly to the side, take their arms, hug themselves, lean a little bit with the waist, bend right there, and look over that shoulder at the camera. Modified hug yourself, because they're going to keep their one hand around their waist. They're going to take this elbow, put it in the circle of their hand, and then play with their hair, twirl their hair, lean forward, smile. I'm going to have the senior cross their legs like this, take all of their hair to one side, play with their hair, take this hand, just gently rest it right on their thigh and bend toward the camera. It's a little bit more of a fashion blogger type pose. I like to call it the kick, but basically they're going to kick and throw their hands up and then step. One more time. I like to call the power pose. You can have your seniors place their hands in their pockets or on their waist, but basically they're going to stand and give you a little bit of an attitude, or something like this. Never put the entire hand in the pocket, only part and leave the thumbs out, or take their thumbs and loop them in the pockets like this. Okay, now we're going to use our environment by using this wall, so let me show you a couple of things you can do with a wall. First, you can have them lean this part of their arm right against the wall. Again, you can have them cross their leg to create a triangle, thumb in the pocket, smile. You could have them lean their head against the wall. You can even change up this hand by putting it right here or right here. So another pose I like to do with the wall is take their forearm and rest it against the wall, keeping this hand loose and looking at me this way. And then they could even place both hands and smile at the camera. They can also lean their back against the wall. I like to have them take both their hands and look toward the camera like this. But then they can also change their hands, put it in their hair, and look down and giggle, and then look right at the camera. Okay guys, so hopefully these poses have given you some ideas of what you can do with your seniors when it comes to standing poses. Just remember to check your environment, look for things for your seniors to lean against or place their hand on or place their elbow on. Things like a ledge or a wall or a windowsill or a railing or even a fence work great for giving them somewhere to lean on or place their hand on. And when it comes to hands, don't forget to use their clothing or accessories. So hands in pockets, thumbs in pockets, loop thumbs through belt loops, or hold the brim of a hat, even hold a collar or the lapel of like a jacket. They can even hold the hem of a skirt or a dress to give them something to do with their hands. Then you could also have them play with their accessories like their rings, even fiddle with their fingernails, something to give them something to do with their hand. Play with their hair. They can gently hold their neck, or maybe even put hands close to their face. That will give them something to do with their hands when it comes to standing poses. So a couple of other things to remember when it comes to standing poses is to make sure you're creating curves and triangles with your senior's body, because that is the most flattering, visually interesting way to pose a senior. Things like hands on a hip, pop a hip, one leg in front of the other, weight on one leg, all of those things will create a curve and or triangles with their body. Also, if your subject wants to appear taller in their photos, make sure you also shoot from below and change your angle no matter what they might want as a result of their photos. But shooting from below will make them appear taller. Also, a side note, if they wear heels, they will also be taller. Their legs will look longer. And for some reason, I always feel better in heels when it comes to posing. So a couple of things as far as wardrobe goes is they can wear a little bit of a heel to give them a little bit more height and maybe even a little attitude to go with it. So remember to change your angle from below, shoot high, shoot all around them, horizontally, vertical, etc. Just make sure you're changing your angle even more so than necessarily changing the pose, because the same pose can look completely different from different angles. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'd love for you to hit the subscribe button so you can be notified when the next video comes out. I would also love to hear from you if you've used any of these posing tips. Please post a photo using one of these poses, tag @Seniorology on Instagram, and I will feature you in the story. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions. I'd love to be able to help you when it comes to standing poses, and I'll see you guys next week right here on the Seniorology YouTube channel. Thanks, guys.